welcome back to another review and feedback. I'm going to be posting this one straight up. Usually I schedule them. You guys kind of know that. I've missed a couple of weeks. I've been very busy, been sick, a lot of other stuff going on. My kid's been sick. I'm sorry for it. I know some of you really love seeing them every week, and I'm going to try and get back on that horse. No promises that I will do it this week, but we're going to try it, right? So without further ado, we're going to be doing a ZVZ. Their MMRs are 2,800, which is the person that posted it, and 3,300. And they're talking about balance issues. I'm not necessarily going to get into the balance issues too much with regards to how it's going on. Again, we're doing kind of feedback and review of what's going on. I'm not going to focus on any one player if I can help it. And as you can see, both players are doing the standard Zerg opening. It is a ZVZ. They both are aware it's a ZVZ. It's not a random and a Z. It's truly a ZVZ. So in this matchup, generally speaking, what you're going to end up having is some kind of Zergling, speed Zergling play where you bounce off of each other a little bit. Then you transition into Roaches, or you transition into Mutas, one or the other, generally speaking. And then from there, you generally go in and go a little bit higher tech. Sorry, I have an edge. Higher tech, you're going to go Infestors, you're going to go Lurkers, something along those lines. And then you'll sometimes get Ultras, lots of run-bys, lots of like spellcasting stuff. If you see Mutas, you'll expect Vipers. If you see Lurkers, you're going to see like Brood Lords or something similar. It gets kind of crazy if you get to those ultra late games. That being said, ZVZ is extremely volatile, and to get to those ultra late games is really hard to do. We have a hatch first. Generally speaking, in ZVZ, you don't want to do hatch first because your opponent's going to go with Lings early on. You can go hatch first, but just be aware that there are very viable builds that will kill you, specifically 12 pools, 14 pools, which are kind of standard-ish in ZVZ. Sorry, back to what I was saying. You can see, like, we don't have Zerglings in the production tab. We only have a Queen. We have a second hatch. Like, if I was blue, I would have at least a handful of Lings because at this point, your opponent could be doing a run-by. They could have ran them up and around and up in here. I know that was a lot of screen movement. So if you look at the mini-map down here, you run up, go across, and then cross over. You can get there. And you need at least 6 Lings to defend because it'll be 12 Lings that are going to hit you. And you have no idea until they literally walk in your front door right here. Same concept on the bottom, right? It's a 2-path avenue. If they go through the middle, what ends up happening is you see them, and then you can start doing defensives. That's what your overlords are used for scouting. That's why you generally try and fly them almost, not directly across the map, but you try and, like, pretty close to straight across the map. The reason being is that you want to see those Lings coming at you before they become a problem. That being said, Zergling speed is almost always something that you want to get, simply because Lings are fast. They can go really, really fast. And if you can get past their wall, you can see the blue putting it on their ramp, having a Queen that's on the ramp side, making sure they have a second Queen at home, getting all that larva, always keeping their money spent. If you look at the army values, you can see blue's a little bit behind. But if you go to upgrades, I thought I saw Ling speed under construction. Yeah, Ling speed is on the way versus no Ling speed. Now, 14 pools, Ling speed would be done. They're already on their way. They're already in your face. You're in trouble. So just for both players, like the scouting and things, the Lings are going to get, they're going to see them. They're going to know. So misses these Lings, and that's all they get. Good job on Red to do some damage here. Think about it anyways. Get all his Lings piled up. I think he might have seen the run out here. As you can see, he has ramped up his Ling production at home with about 16 or so. 8 total. I do like the Banes. It's always a good play. It's always a pain to deal with. The problem is that we're behind when you could hit normally. You don't have speed. There's like some challenges that can and do occur. I like the attempt to surround the Queen. I would probably do these a little bit closer to each other. Get the drones. Yeah. I would not have nuked all of the drones with Banes. One Bane, Lings attack, have them on 2 separate hotkeys. Cyril does this. That way you can have the Lings just go, oh, I'm going to start attacking, and then they could punch You just hold position them or something. They'll punch the drones. You won't lose that second Bane, which is very valuable. And that way your Banes go through. That being said, I wouldn't... That's like a GM strategy. So, like, just A moving with the drone, or the Banes and the Lings is probably okay as long as you don't stack them up too much. Whoop, that's crazy. One Ling. That's all you need, one Ling. There you go. Nice. Good trade. Did lose a Bane to Bane and a Ling, so it was a negative trade, but it was a lot better than what it could have been. Jeez. Wall-offs are great. I like it, I like it, I like it. I don't know if you... Yeah, you probably understand that's a Roach Warren. You probably guessed. I would have probably done the same thing. Send those Lings into the main. You want to see how much gas is he gathering and all that kind of stuff. If he's on 1, then guess what? If you get 4 or 3, and then you go mutas, he doesn't have the gas to keep up with you. Ooh, nice. Baneling's doing damage. That was my fault for clicking away and talking about strategy. Spend your money. Get another hatch. Get more queens. Like there's gaps in production, or injects, right? There's energy available, and the injects aren't done. You need to make sure that you are on top of that. Make that cycle, right? Inject, spend, control army, right? Inject, spend, macro. Inject, spend, whatever it is, right? You need to do that little bit of a rotation. Make sure that you're doing that stuff. You're probably thinking you're doing a lot more damage than you are, because these drones only have 7 health left, but you only killed, with that little attack, you only killed 1 singular drone, I believe. Losses are about even, so this is going to be an income game right now. Reddit, you are ahead. I like the third base. You're doing really, really well with that. You are still floating a lot of resources, and you're getting supply capped. So let's look at your units. You have 1 larva. That larva should be spent on an overlord, probably. Make sure you're spreading your overlords appropriately. Make sure you have them over here, etc. Make sure that you're scouting appropriately. Get your layer up, so that way when you sack this, you might be okay. And I do like the... Okay, you actually were floating, even though you spent a whole bunch on overlords. So you need to clean up your supply cap, or supply spend, a little bit more. I know, it's hard. Promise, everybody has that problem. Blue on the other side of the map, lower on supply, going into the higher tech, getting all of their gases, and then saturating. Building a bunch of enough roaches to defend themselves. Not doing anything too crazy. Overlords come all the way across. This could be disastrous if the queens came out and killed, and you had the ability to do that. That would really stifle all of the workers here. Creep spread, you only really want to connect the bases. You don't really want to go across unless you're trying to do like a German roach rush. I can't remember the name of the specific build, the perfect person that came up with it. But essentially, as I said, queens can come out and it becomes disastrous. Not quite as terrible as it could be, but you could get this over here, get that, more queens, yada, yada, yada. I like the creep spread here. I probably would have flown it over here and gotten the queens so that they have that speed, so that they don't get trapped out here. This works out well. That was a high ground vision thing. I would get these queens home. Get them home. Get them. You don't want to lose queens over that. Good job. Red did not know, Red did not know how large the army was and pulled back. That's a really good call. I do like that decision. Teching really hard. Upgrades are down as well for red. So 1-1 versus 0-0. That is a huge deal. This hold position is killing you. That's going to kill you. You need that movement speed on your overlords at some point. I'm not super good at ZVZ, so I don't have a good... Run! Wow, he killed a roach for a queen. I don't know how I feel about that. And then you expanded towards him. I would have gone right here. I would have gone way over here. Do not expand towards your opponent unless you are the aggressor. And it looks like red's the aggressor. So putting this hatch right here is questionable in my opinion. I ought to put it right here. Double expand because you're floating. Okay, that makes sense. I agree. Both players climbing in supply, all that kind of stuff. It's on red right now to either attack, right? They have 150 supply. I know that there's roaches in the queue, right? Once those are done, grouping up and attacking, or That was interesting. Why is this here? Hold on. Let's go back a second. That looked kind of funny. And I want to watch their camera, and I'm listening. Right? Okay, they can hear it. That's why. Just so you know, you can hear what your opponent's doing sometimes. Maybe we can go a little further back. Because I am curious as to why he moved those roaches to where he did. Right? The timing was really particular. It's interesting. He's not looking over there, not paying attention. He's doing things, right? He's hydrogen, all that kind of stuff. Expanding, checking himself. Scouting is very limited. And then comes over here and moves over there. Maybe he saw the overseer, and that's what happened. Kind of weird. Overseer's great. You can see what your opponent's tech is. You know, they're going Lurker and Hydra. And you now can make decisions on what you're doing. You have a very large Roach army. Time to shut down a base. You know that they're teching up. It's time to shut down a base. You see both of these expanding. You need to kill one of them right now. The fact that they were kind enough to expand forward for you, awesome. But you need to kill a base. They cannot have both these bases. You're going to be in trouble, red. Blue, you don't need to defend both. Just try and pick off stuff. 1-1 versus 1-0, but having Ravengers, that's a good kill. Okay, it's like you're listening to me. Get out, 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 get out. I would probably have done the flank. Oh, you just bombed yourself. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Time to go home, red. That 1-1 to 1-0 is actually really big. And you're going to be same tech problem eventually. He's pushing back on you. I do like the kill. It was a good choice. You spent your money. You have bigger supply. You have more income. You're oversaturated. Happens. I'm not saying it doesn't. Don't over micro. Don't over micro. You're over microing. Let him get into the choke, not the other way around. So, yeah, you want him to attack in. Start building another Roach Horn immediately once he starts doing that, because you're in trouble otherwise. You're not going to be able to continue to build them. He's focusing him down. It's like, uh-oh, time to... Okay. He walked into you. He's got 1-1. You got 0-1. That +1 difference is huge. You're not focusing units. You should be Drone pulling, Queen pulls. You should be attacking. If you don't kill this right now, you are dead. This is game over. And you're way oversaturated. Oh, God. You need it all. Yeah, because he's just going to build... There you go. No, attack. Okay. Now you can pull the drones. Get back, pull the drones, pull the everything. Get back. Get home. This was something you didn't want to fight. Are you behind on tech still? Like... You built double Evo and you didn't build it. This is tough because what happened was you didn't build that extra Roach Horn, and therefore you just got yourself in a situation where he has range and you only have melee. He has extra armor. Now he has double attack. Your lings don't even have +1, which I wouldn't expect your lings to have +1. That's just not the bait nature. Yeah, if you should have killed it here. You should have pulled hard here. You weren't really ever ahead. You were ahead, but you never capitalized it, if that makes sense. Like, you didn't kill this base. You were on this side of the map for a long, long time, and you were just in trouble. Your tech is behind. You don't have Hydras on the way. You don't have Lurkers on the way. You don't have Spire on the way. You have 1,000 gas, and you're doing nothing with it because your Roach Horn went down. That's not... At this point, at the time that you had lost the Roach Horn, then you're not F2. That's an F2 time. Yeah, no, this isn't. This is just you were ahead and you didn't capitalize with your lead in getting higher tech or getting more bases or getting a bigger arm, or like taking an even bigger army. Also, I would have put that way back here, protecting yourself. I don't know if it was a cheat. I don't think it was a cheat. I do want to go back and double check where I was like, why does this rock wall know what's happening, right? I'm also surprised he built the Hydra Den and didn't actually, like, tech into it. So that was kind of interesting to me. So I'm staring at the minimap. So he sees the Overlord and moves, or Overseer rather. So, okay, it wasn't a map hack. What happened was he saw a red dot on the minimap and said, "Uh-oh, time for me to go check what's going on," because people F2, and that's just a natural reaction. There was no cheating here. You basically, I just am surprised that we didn't see any Hydras or Lurkers come out. Like, just none. He was behind with regards to supply and income, right? He was behind. There's no question about it. But when you fought him here, you killed the hatch. Cool. But you lost a lot of army by over here for nothing. And when you had the bigger concave, right, you're wider, with a larger army, you didn't just move into him and use your biles to kill him. I'm actually gonna sit here and we're gonna watch that fight one more time, so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the fight, right? This is red that is struggling to win here, right? They see this ball of roaches. This army, you could see the end of the army. He can see the end of your army. He knows you have a bigger army. What he has is +1 armor, and you don't. So you need to be able to engage with more damage than he does. It's roaches. Yeah, you have to get up close and personal. Okay? We know that. So you're moving in, and he gets a free 1 or 2 roaches, and then he moves in, and you have army over here that's fighting. Instead of pressing your advantage, you run away. You have a bigger army. He's building forces on the backside. Either you now run away completely and lose nothing, which he has creep, so he's going to get some stuff, and then you throw some of your own army, you go lose army there. Like, this fight was just mismicroed. This is why you ended up taking the L, is this fight right here. If you had just moved him and biled occasionally, it would have been over. You would have won. You didn't even need... maybe you had to select this chunk over here to move in onto this army. Like, he said, oh crap, there's a lot of stuff. If you over-microed this, he got a big advantage. On your retreat, he did a lot of damage. And you just a lot of issues with regards to what's going on here. You're also... the other things that I noticed was your injects are not perfect. I'm not expecting... I don't expect perfect, like Cyril perfect. But, like, your army size is smaller, you fight in the chokes negatively, and then he focuses down your Roach Warren, and as soon as you see him focusing that, you didn't flick your camera over here and throw down a Roach Warren just to save yourself. And you haven't climbed the tech tree at all. Like, your opponent already has Lurker Den, and you're about to lose your Roach Warren, which is a tier 1 building. This is arguably a tier 3 building. The reason... I don't quite know why he didn't build Hydras, because I would right now spend Hydras. I got the money, I got the larva, I'm in advantage, I'm going to put my opponent further back. Maybe he says, I see blood in the water, and just wants to dump all of his resources into a bigger army, which would make sense, right? He only has, you only have 3, he has 8. I don't know. I'm not certain on that specific aspect. Also, when the Roach Warren went down, you needed F2 and attack. You needed to pull all these drones, and you needed to surround this and kill it. That was your opportunity to end this aggression and take minimal losses versus losing the game. I mean, you're going to take losses versus taking the L for the game, right? Lose the battle, not the war. And that's, like, the fact that you're not pulling drones when he clearly has an advantage. You need more tankiness, and you just don't have it, and then you let this army fight, and not this one do the flank with all these drones that are oversaturated. You just put yourself in a situation where if he gets out, you've probably lost the game. And obviously that's what ends up happening, because we saw that already. So we'll go ahead and get ourselves back in, and we'll start it so the music's going, all that kind of stuff. The good. Your builder order was very clean. You did a really good job with it. You had a nice aggression. You were able to continue to take advantage up until a point. You went Ravagers, which is fine if you can control them. Your control with the Ravagers was so-so. Your number of workers was great. You lacked a fourth base when you had the workers for a fourth base. So you're oversaturated, losing a lot of larva, which could have been more work. It could have been more army, where you could have won the game. And you could have taken the extra resources and got your +1 armor. +1 versus +1/+0. You need about 20-ish, 10-ish% more, 15 in that area, more army to be equal. +1 armor is that valuable. +1 attack is basically the same thing, right? If you have a disadvantage, that's the difference in a mirror matchup kind of thing. It's about 15-20%. Those drones that you built that were oversaturated, not doing the stuff, that would have been the 15-20, and you would have just rolled them. And the value of the resources, of course. Why am I getting... That's why. It's because I was... Sorry. That's my fault for having... That's the general concepts, right? And then there was there's too much A-movie, and you fought in chokes that were really disadvantageous to you. Like, once you went back behind your wall, you just can't. You couldn't. You can't do that. That just... You created a choke so that they have to attack into you with your tech. And when they attacked into you, they killed your tech. That's the danger of building a wall with your tech. If you put both your Evo chambers there, they'll kill your upgrades. If you put that's why building a wall is always sketchy. It's always like, ooh. And your opponent noticed that and took advantage. That is the way it is. I can't, like... Having a choke point for Ling Bane is very important, but you then have to identify the fact that you've put things that are important in that wall to make that wall. You can't lose the wall when you get into Roach versus Roach, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you can't pull back behind it. It doesn't work like that unless your opponent's making mistakes. And your opponent clearly showed that he wasn't making mistakes when you were fighting on the other side of the map. You underestimated his skill against your skill, and he took advantage by killing out your tech. You didn't repopulate your tech, and then you ended up floating 1,000 gas. That's the like. There's a sequence of events that occurred, and your frustration in the match came from not understanding, or understanding it and not identifying and fixing the problem earlier. You did have the other base. If you pull back through the wall, he doesn't kill your tech, he kills that base. And that had a lot of workers in it. So no matter what, he's going to be up a base. You can't lose that wall because you lose your tech. Like, you just can't have him get all the way to your side and being on your wall, is really what I'm trying to articulate. You needed to pull back earlier, or press your advantage, or like, attack into him harder so that he didn't have more stuff and your reinforcements were there to defend. And you needed to make sure your injects were super on top of stuff so that you had that home advantage when he came to you. You also floated a lot. I noticed that, like, crazy amounts of float. Zerg is one of those funny races where it's okay to float sometimes because you say, oh, I have 3 overlords on the way. I have 20 larvae. I'm going to build 18 lings, right? Like, that's an okay kind of situation. So it's not as bad. Like, the punishment for floating isn't game over as Zerg. For other races, it can very much be. So what I would suggest is practicing in the other races, so that way you can identify the things that you're struggling with. Build order, fine. You're gonna struggle with it. Pick just a generic one that is an actual, like, macro build or something like that, and just identify your other problems that you're seeing that are universal for you as a player versus just the individual trouble you're having with your race that you're having that is occurring today, right? What you'll find is that you're going to probably run into being stuck at a much lower rank with the other races, not because of your partially because your understanding of their race, but because you're making the same mistakes across all the races. Camera hotkeys, not having your supply enough supply, not having enough production, not keeping up with your macro cycles, so on and so forth. You're basically in a situation where, oh, I'm a diamond player, watch me play this game, I'm supposed to be diamond. And then you make these egregious mistakes, and you don't realize they're egregious because you don't have the perspective of the other races, or you made a mistake and then you didn't review the game and you didn't understand why you lost, or you did something like you just let your opponent take an advantage, and then you were in a situation where you're like, oh crud, and you didn't have the experience to pull the appropriate extra steps to make it so that you would not lose when you were in the advantage still. Specifically, when I was saying don't lose the wall, you didn't pull the drones, therefore you lost the wall, and therefore you lost the production of the next tech, which means your opponent can continue to tech on that level and continue to pressure very heavily there until you get that new building back up, which takes lots of time, which is at least one round of units, which means that you're in a lot of trouble. And you, of course, were in a situation where you couldn't take your lings and send them around the edge of the map and kill your opponent or do some damage to his income or any of that kind of stuff. You also probably, and this is a speculation, misjudged how much damage you did with your Ling Bane. You were very far ahead, but you were not far enough ahead to just go, I win the game. You were in a situation where, well, obviously, you were in a situation where you needed to either press your advantage, basically, as soon as you had those first, 10 roaches, attack with them, as well as the swell of lings that you have in between. And now you have a huge army. You didn't continue to macro. Your opponent's behind, and he couldn't defend, and you won. And then later on, when you did macro and all that kind of stuff, and you had that bigger army, you didn't just let your army do its thing. You tried to be fancy, and you lost at least 6 or 7 roaches because of it. And that 6 or 7 roaches and that oversupply in workers that was oversaturated, basically doing nothing. It was diminishing returns, right? You're in diminishing returns. Wasn't sufficient to make it so that you could continue to pressure and be ahead because he got his second upgrade and you made that mistake as well. Lots of little mistakes, but those little mistakes add up, which ended up making it so the game ended in your opponent's favor. Thanks for watching. Best of luck. I hope to see some advantages and gain and experience and see what else you come up with in your future endeavors. Remember, it's a game. You have to look at every game and say, what did I do wrong? How can I improve? Because, or I'm focusing on this during this game. The win or loss isn't based off of if you get the W or L in the match. It's based off of you actually doing the thing that you're trying to improve. Thank you again for watching. I hope to see you all again sometime soon, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.